Hello everyone, it's Quest Quenches here today, and we have been blessed with another interview from Pete Hines about Starfield. So first of all, I've taken a bunch of notes about the interview, and they discuss quite a bit, so let's get into it. So first of all, who the hell is Pete Hines? So he's the head of publishing at Bethesda, which I didn't know. I thought he was head of marketing. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And then he goes on to discuss how did Starfield come to be. And apparently, about 10 to 8 years ago, Todd Howard pitched the idea to I think it was the former CEO, and he was like, "Yeah, let's save it up and stuff like that," because the CEO was kind of, oh well, we kind of make, we our big money kind of characters of like Fallout and Elder Scrolls, and then you want to make a space game, okay. So it's gonna, and I think he was probably thinking about, well, it takes a long time to create these type of games, and people probably get like very angry waiting because they do scream a lot about Elder Scrolls, and they really want it, and I'm not gonna lie, I kind of want it too, but Starfield, it's looking like it's gonna be a good game. So yeah, and then there was a bunch of technical issues with the audio, but heyo. But yeah, it's Todd Howard kept with this idea of this space game and just kept on pushing it through until like a few, I think it was like during Fallout 4's kind of thing, it started to, get into pre-production and stuff like that and become something else. And then they go on to show the controller and headset. They look pretty cool. They look nice. I'm happy with what I've got right now. I don't particularly need it. So apparently, what they're showing at the Starfield sort of theater is a condensed version of the beginning of the game. So basically, apparently, you start off as a miner. You're working for, I think it's Argos Extractors maybe, and you've been going through the tutorial. You sort of get shown how to use your laser and stuff. You're mining a few things, and then you come across this like the basically in that Starfield advert, with you touch this weird artifact, you see a bunch of stuff, and then you pass out, and then you wake up and you do your character creation, and then I think you meet Barrett from what we've seen in the sort of showcase kind of thing. You meet Barrett, and then you also meet Vasco, and then you get attacked by pirates, and then you're sort of sent off into head into the lodge or something like that to meet the Constellations people, and it sounds fairly interesting and stuff. And we hear a lot more details and stuff about this, the beginning of the game, sort of later on and stuff. He describes a few things. He does go on to say it's very daunting launching a game this size with this much hype. He is quite nervous and stuff, so I can imagine, like, you've been working on the game for since Fallout 4, so like 2015 or something, and it's taken a while to get there. So yeah, he also describes that the game is absolutely huge. It's a hell of a time sink. You'll be spending countless hours doing this, that, and the other, and it will be you definitely invest about as much time as you did in Skyrim and Starfield. So that to me sounds excellent. I like the idea of being immersed in another world. Just to have a bit of fun on the weekends, or as full time, because it's kind of my job. But yeah. I also they talked about how everything isn't available to you at once. So it feels like it's going back to how it was. You have to have like a skill to be able to operate higher ranking, more different types of ships, basically. So that to me sounds really cool. Like, yes, I won't be able to immediately jump in power armor and be able to kill a Deathclaw immediately, which I think they really dropped the ball with the Fallout 4 introduction. So having this, you can't properly use your boost pack until you've got the proper skill for it, or you can't operate a certain type of ship until you have the technical know-how, which I feel like is, that's pretty much right. And then even then, it's sort of, you're still, you need to rank up that skill. And then apparently Vasco, our robot companion who we meet early on in the game, is really funny. He has a great personality apparently, and he's one of the first companions you meet, which is really cool. And then Pete talks about something really nice that I thought was really eye-opening, and it's true to me, that basically gaming is a great way for people that are experiencing loss or going through a tough time to really escape their current, situation for a little while and, feel better and happier about themselves for a little while, to take the stress of what they're going through. And I gotta say, from everything that I've been through for like the last year, it has helped. That and therapy. But it's been definitely playing games and stuff. It's really managed to lighten the load on my brain, to just switch it off, to just play a game, be someone else for a little while. And yeah, I totally agree with Pete there. That's really nice, really nice. And then we get to see the trailer again, the live action trailer, which it's cool and stuff. It's very, I like it. I was wearing my headphones this time, and the bass and stuff, I was like, wow, okay, everything sounds so powerful. That's pretty cool. I hope it sounds like that in the game. I hope the music sounds the same, because it was pretty good. And apparently, Pete describes like one funny moment he was playing. It was apparently, hopped on a ship. There was still someone in the helm operating the ship. They flew up, and apparently Pete Hines got jettisoned from the ship, fell all the way down to Earth and died. So yeah, you can get jettisoned, so it's probably not the best thing to do that. And to confirm, there is a new game plus, but it's also, by the sounds of it, it's to do with the story, because he said it won't go into it because it has something to do around the story. So I wonder what that is. I'm feeling like, is it time travel or something, or is it like you can take your consciousness back to the beginning of the game, or go around it a different way somehow with these artifacts, or it's something like that. I think it sounds interesting. I'm just speculating on it, but I really want to know. And then he goes on to say like, so each planet has its basically like its day and night type of cycle and stuff like that. You can watch the moons orbit across the sky as well as the sun and stuff. So it's like, this sounds really cool. Hopefully it's like sped up, it's not just real time, because I do like that aspect of the Bethesda games, that you're playing so long that not playing so long, but you play like maybe an hour, 45 minutes before it gets nighttime, and you're like, oh, the lighting changes, different creatures come out at night and stuff like that. That's what I'm hoping, that they've really thought about this, sort of like the food chain kind of thing, the predators and stuff like that, there are nocturnal creatures as well as daytime creatures. So I'm hoping it's more that detail, but Bethesda games aren't like that, so hopefully I do hope there's a bit of variance. I mean, it does later on say there's a ton of things. I've seen so many things that he couldn't tell us the asset count. So it's like, I imagine there's a lot of creatures, different variants of colours and stuff like that, which sounds really good. There is also like a photo mode that will be you need to definitely use for some amazing things you'll see. I imagine I'll be using that quite a bit. I do like taking thumbnails in games, so hopefully that'll be something I do, and it definitely will be, because I'll really like seeing things, and I'll probably share a bunch of stuff on like Twitter and Threads and probably YouTube too, because I really do like taking pictures of like, if something's captured, if it's as good as it's going to be, I'm hoping to capture that. So yeah, we move on to there are some static places where you can find certain things. So if there's any like people saying like, oh, if you're getting stuck in New Atlantis and you need to head to this place and stuff like that, which sounds good. So definitely tutorials are there and stuff, but in outer space and not at the main settlements and stuff like that, it's kind of a radiantly generated. It's randomly generated basically. That's okay. I guess. I think it will be interesting to see what all these, what different people experience, and I think that's probably going to be the most attractive thing to like Let's Plays, like, oh, what did you experience and stuff like that, or hey, I found this on this planet, and you can still say, but I imagine it'll be different. But it's like, hey, look what I found. Oh, this is ace, and that's quite exciting. I need to put my phone to silent. There we go. And yeah, it's really exciting. And by the sounds of it, the Radiant system is more complex than that I previously thought, because he was discussing like, oh, certain things need to spawn at certain times and stuff like that, but they won't spawn at the same time. So if you like, say you're looking for something in space, but you haven't, got around to doing that stuff, it will appear at certain times, so you need to hit the trigger first in order for it to be like an opportunity to happen. By the sounds of it, it sounds very complex and complicated, and it's very intriguing to hear. And yeah, so I just discussed that, and it goes on to say like what kind of things. Oh, it also, you can't rush things that quickly, so you can't just get ahead of things because of the radiant system, which is interesting. So it'll make every playthrough quite unique. So I'm looking forward to that. Then he goes on to like what kind of traits does he like playing with, and Pete Hines is sort of going to be role-playing as someone named the Colonel. He's a military guy that defied an order, and he is now got the Wanted trait, and so that's basically where bounty hunters come and just shoot you for fun, or to collect your bounty. So and Pete likes to play as a good guy most of the time, and he likes the jack of all trades and stuff like that. And another thing I looked at that we got disclosed is something called special projects, like a skill. And I was like, oh, what's this about? And apparently it unlocks really cool things that you can't find in like the normal world and stuff. And you can make like cool new weapon mods and armor mods and stuff, and backpacks and helmets, I reckon. And he goes on to say like, he's like describing himself as like playing as Iron Man. He's flying throughout the planet, firing rockets everywhere, and that sounds really fun. And I'm hoping that special projects is in a science tech or tech's tree, because that's what I'm going to be focused on. And by the sounds of it, it sounds like it will be. So yeah, and apparently when you enter a system, it generates icons and points of interest for you. So you get like icons immediately, and you explore. You can go down to other planets, and by the sounds of it, it's like, oh, it'll generate caves and things to do. So it won't be completely boring, and it will have some stuff to look at basically, and that's good. And something that I think will alleviate a lot of people, that you can loot spacesuits, weapons, packs, and helmets off corpses. It's just like sometimes it's you shot that guy's helmet to smithereens, so you ain't picking up anything there. Or you saw, kind of thing. Or sometimes it's just like, oh yeah, it'll give you the opportunity as it, you can loot it. It's sort of like random. It's a bit an RNG, isn't it? So yeah, you can find, I do wish in the looting system it had an icon next to the name, so you can immediately identify what it is, instead of just something, like, the Equinox. What when we first introduced to the game, we're like, what's an Equinox? How would I know what that is? If it had a little gun logo, so I imagine that's going to be like one of the first things when we get the creation kit to be modded in. And there is no level cap, which is interesting. And if there is, no one's apparently reached it. There are other settlements in the game than just, New Atlantis and Neon and stuff like that. So there is other things you can do, other places you can visit, like. And by settlements, he sounded like it was like, oh, it's like a farming village and stuff like that. That they've settled here, and that's what they do. They export food to like the major cities and other people. So it's like, it is going to be, I imagine these people have quests, like, hey, can you go over there and get me this material and stuff like that? Or, hey, we're being robbed by Crimson Pirates all the time. Can you set up as defenses, or can you have a look at our, or could you gather some resources in order to put some defenses? I imagine it's going to be something like that. And then you can own multiple ships at a time, and I think we all knew this, but that's good to say. But you can only fly one at a time, and different ships can match different scenarios. So if you're like, you get a quest and it's like you need to pick up 10 people and move them to another location, you will have to have a ship that can, have people on it, and quite a few people, so you've got to make sure you have plenty of seats. Or you can, say those people have got the cargo, you focus on the cargo and be like, hey, bye people, we don't need you. And then Pete recommends some like tips and tricks and stuff to like, what's like the first things you want to do. And once you've sort of been introduced to the lodge and constellations and stuff, Pete recommends you talking to the Vanguard people in New Atlantis and visiting the museum for lore context. And like, so basically everything that's happened will be explained there. And of course it's it's only one side of the tale, so you'll have the United Colonies tale of why everything went pear-shaped. I'm hoping that you get, like, you know, different context from different places with a different point of view, which I'm really hoping for. Hopefully Aquila has the, hey, this is actually what we thought happened. So it's like, oh, so who's right then? And you'd never actually know. Yeah, which is interesting because that's kind of like our history. Like, everyone has a different perspective on things. And, you know, things go different ways for different people. And then he goes on to say, like, be really thoughtful about what you're picking. Say, like, you're in space and you really want the hacking and the lockpicking kind of trait first, but instead of going for that, you really should go for the targeting system, so you can target people's engines and get on board their ships and kill them that way and loot the ship properly, rather than just collecting some scrap and as the ship blows up and stuff like that, which sounds pretty cool. So it's like you got to think of perks straight away instead of like too far in the future. But then he did go say like, hey, but also you can also just play the game you want, like play the way you know, make your mistakes and then sort of figure it out yourself really. But that's just a few tips he kind of thing. And he did say, like, make sure, you know, if you're traversing planets and that's your sort of main priority, you've got to get the boost pack skill to use your boost pack to the most effectively you can. And I imagine as more as you go down that skill perk thing, so you're leveling it up and stuff, you get like, oh, you can stay in the air for a bit longer, or you can fly now, kind of thing, which is interesting. And then we also heard, this is sort of the second to last kind of point, there will be post-launch, so he didn't say how long, but it's sort of, they're on the minds, they're thinking about it, but still it's, you know, it could be, it's probably looking, you know, maybe December or, you know, early next year where we get the creation kit. I think by the sounds of what he says, it's not really, you know, people, they definitely want to do it. They definitely want to make, like, oh, you have the ability to make more planets. You can add them in there and stuff like that, or new star systems, and they really want people to do that, as well as, you know, make, you know, quests and companions and stuff like that. They definitely want, you know, people to do that. And then lastly, what I picked from the entire interview was mission boards. That sounds really cool. So it's like you have small quests and then you can move cargo or transport people and stuff like that. He discussed how he was in the middle of that and then he went away from the game for a bit to do some real life stuff, and then he came back and he totally forgot he had people he was transporting, and then he also had to make something for this certain person too on the same planet, and he was like, yes, so I need to do all that before. By the sounds of it, these have a limit on it, so it's like you need to get them, so it's time sort of gated by the sound of it, which is good because the sort of, there's this mod in Skyrim, missives and sort of like quests and stuff like that. Oh, it's like bounty board kind of thing, and when you're on like a mission, you can, you know, you can actually, you know, say you're delivering a sword to Riveron and you go like a week's, you know, a week's worth of days pass by and you haven't delivered it yet. You would fail that quest, and sometimes I saw you get like a bounty because you haven't done that job. You haven't, you know, you haven't done that job and you've just left them high and dry and stuff like that, which is really, really cool. I really like that. I really like that mod, and I'm glad they're sort of putting that into the game. I'm hoping it's something you can just retrieve from your like ship. You can go up in your ship and have a look at your console and you can see, oh yeah, mission boards, let's have a look, oh yeah, we'll take that, and then you fly off there, which would be really cool. So hopefully you don't have to constantly land at this place, go to this mission board, hey, I pick you, and then leave, and then, you know, kind of thing. I think that'll be a bit annoying because I'd like to have all the missions right there, because I mean, they've got to be transmitting signals all through space, and, you know, so it's like, it's got to have that. But yeah, that's sort of all I managed to pick out from that interview, and it was a cool watch. I enjoyed the hosts, I enjoyed Pete Hines. I think that was really cool. It was really fun, and I've definitely, hopefully there's more. Hopefully there's an interview with Todd Howard at some point, of him discussing more about the ship, about the game, and yeah. So that's been all I've came across in this interview. So I hope you enjoyed. I hope you've learned a little bit more about Starfield, if you're not already playing it. Right, I will see you in the next video, and see you then. Please like and subscribe. Goodbye.